Okay, you guys, I hope the computer is not too loud. It's making this weird sound, but in any case, I did have a quick little thought while I was just sitting here watching a video that I'm not even going to link to because it's just, it's one of those videos from one of those YouTube channels where they're like, oh, this amazing family. You know, this one has got like a poly relationship between this woman who looks like they have a non-binary or identify as a man, and are in a relationship with two men dressed up like women who probably identify as female, and they're raising two children, one who is like 2.5, the other one who looks like they're about 10, 11, or 12. I don't know the age, but they're raising their children as non-binary, them, they type, non-a gender, sexist, you name it. Okay, so my thought that I had in my head was this, and I'm just gonna just state that I was raised in a household where you're born a boy, you stay a boy, like Mr. Rogers said. You're born a girl, you stay a girl. And I started to develop like really bad migraines, and I would take like Tylenol, ibuprofen. Sometimes I found Excedrin worked really well. So I would take Excedrin. And sometimes you take a pill, you take another pill, and sometimes the pills don't work. And the pain of a migraine, if you've ever had a migraine pain, it is sometimes like one of the most debilitating, I wouldn't say the most excruciating pain. Like if you don't really experience that much pain in your life, I would say it's bad. It's bad, but it's not the worst. Very, very far from the worst. I'm not trying to downplay it at all because there are a lot of, spots in front of your eyes in a darkened room. You in a fetal position with an ice pack on your head, rocking from side to side, trying everything you can, just sleeping all day until the morning and hoping it's gone. Sometimes for days in a row you're in pain. Okay, do you get the picture? So there were days like in the early years, I remember I would go to school or I would go to work, and I would be so, it would be so bad it would affect like my stomach, and I would, food would come up. I remember taking a bus to work, and I had to get off the bus and just, unload, I'm sorry if you're eating, unload the contents of my stomach on the side of the road, just because of how bad the pain was, because it would start to affect other things. But in any case, when I was younger and I would experience pain like this, I would complain to my mom. I would be on the floor rocking and stuff, and she would be like, "Buck up," and I'd be like, "What does that mean?" It means like, it basically means sometimes in life you're going to experience things, and it's going to be bad, but you're not going to be able to get away from it. You're just going to have to deal with it. So this kind of stuck with me in my life. So I kind of, if I go through things, or if my niece sometimes, she, young children growing up and they're getting into things and they want to do things, or they, how kids are. They get into stuff that they want to do things. They can't have access to certain stuff, certain food, candy, things like that. Well, buck up. So I use that. It's a good philosophy for if you're going through something and there's no way to go through it but ride through it. And if you're religious, pray to whoever you believe in. And if you're not, just be strong and have a strong core, like one of my aunts would say. uh and just be strong within. That's it. That's all you can do. Or as they say, get in, I think Sling Blade is the movie, get busy living or get busy dying. That is a disclaimer. I am not advocating anything. I'm just stating a quote from a movie. In any case, I just say all that to say I watched that video of what those parents, quote unquote parents, what they're doing to those children. And you got a few people. I think it came out a couple years ago because you got comments that are 2 years uh, historically 2 year old comments, and they're like, oh well, I mean, there are people then that are like, whoa, they're going too far with this is crazy. Or people that, well, I like that they're raising their kids, and they can just decide what they want. And I'm watching the video. Basically, if you don't want to hear about, I'm going to spoil it. I don't think that too many of you are probably going to be interested in watching it anyway, so it probably doesn't matter if I spoil it or not. But in any case, it's like they're not even teaching. Like, for the oldest child, they're like, oh, their name is Heather. Heather basically teaches themselves, and I just follow Heather's lead. Like, I mean, you can't do that. You've been here longer, you're the parent. You have to raise the child in the way that, they will go, as they say, and there has to be some structure. I know that people who follow that line of reasoning are like, well, they have more flexibility in what they want to do. What if they don't identify as this or that? Well, if you have a child and they come out biologically male or female and you raise them as that, they have some structure. Like, think of it as you ever going into a grocery store and you forgot your list? If you got your list, you can easily go through the store, get what you need, and get out. If you don't have a list, you're going up and down the aisles and you're like, what the heck? I don't even know but that looks kind of good. It's like, I don't have my list. I have a lot more options here, but you standing in the store, waddling, waiting through the store, wasting time, your days going by, looking at all your options, you might choose like more than you need and spend more money. Is this really the best course of action? Now, that's a little example there. But what I want to get into really is going back to the example from the quote from my mom. It's just that you're sometimes you just have to be strong. I read comments down in the comment section, and there's comments from people who are like, well, I identify as this and that, and if only my family were there for me, everything would work out and I would be happy and all my problems would disappear. And they should do this. They should be accepting, they should be loving, they should be an ally for the kids. They should be doing this and that. You should raise your kids as non-binary because that gives them, like, what if they, as I said, what if they don't identify, they don't have any structure. And people shouldn't be raised to rely on others so heavily that they are, that if they don't get the acceptance when it comes to what they identify as or present themselves as to the world, that they just fall apart. They shouldn't have that sort of reliance on outside forces. If you raise a child and then you raise them to be strong, you say, hey, there are going to be some days where you're not going to feel good all the time. You're not going to feel 100%. There are going to be days when you don't get along with everybody. Everybody doesn't get along with you. Not everybody in this world is going to like you. You're not going to like everybody in this world. But go and do what you came to do. Be strong within yourself. Go out into the world and be proud of what you achieved, regardless of the people that are around you. Not everybody's going to like you. Who cares? Get on with it. Do what you came to do. And then, go home. You're not going to see, like, if you go to work, you go to school, you go to class, you're not going to get along with everybody. They should be teaching children to be strong within themselves. They shouldn't be teaching them to say, oh, well, you can identify as all this and everybody should be accepting and loving and caring, blah, 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 kumbaya sort of situation. This is not that kind of world. It's not. Not everybody's going to be loving and kind and accepting. Teach them what the world is. Don't lie to them. And don't try to make the whole world that way. Well, it's probably not very good. There's a DreamWorks movie that you or your child has probably seen. You probably seen with your child if your child was raised in like the 90s or something like that. It's called Sinbad. I think Michelle Pfeiffer or somebody voiced the demon on there called Ares, or Ares, whatever. So I'm not going to give you too much about it, but there's a scene in there, in this cartoon where Sinbad goes to Tartarus, which is the edge of the world. So they push the boat off the edge and he goes to Tartarus with his female companion. And he he goes to Tartarus and he goes to see Eris, the goddess. It's a goddess, supposedly. I think it looks like a demon. It's scary looking, but she's the goddess of discord. And she's sitting up there in this cracked up looking, destroyed, dilapidated, um, throne looking area. And he's like, nice place you got here. And she's like, you like it? I plan on doing the whole world this way. And that quote, even though it's from that cartoon, kind of resonates with me. It's like that's what's happening. Because I was thinking, what if these people, they homeschool their kids, the people in the video, but what if their kids wanted to go to school? Like, and I was thinking, how are they going to fit into society? How are they going to fit into the school? Oh, wait a minute. They're doing the whole world this way. They've got flags in the classrooms. They're trying to teach the kids about gender ideologies. They're trying to teach them about gender sexuality. So this is what's going on. And it's really sad. It's building a weak generation of human beings that are reliant on acceptance from outside forces heavily. I'm not saying that you don't need to rely on outside force. Everybody needs friends, family, to a certain extent, significant others. But what children aren't being taught in this generation, especially, is that sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. Every day is not going to be rainbows and sunshine. Teach kids to be strong, to stand up for themselves. Don't be afraid of getting into a little scuffle with somebody. I'm not advocating for fighting. I'm just saying be strong, you know? And people are so afraid. They're afraid of life. They're afraid of death, you know? They're just afraid. Stop building these frightened children that think that the only way out of their problems is if they turn themselves into something else. Teach them to be strong in what they already are born inside of, this body that they came in to the world with, and let them figure it out for themselves further down the road. That's all I'm saying. Raise strong kids and you won't have to deal with half these things. Let them figure it out for themselves. All right, that's it.